Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello and welcome to episode 339 of the AFTN podcast. I am the Weird Al Yankovic of the Whitecaps media scene, Joe DC. I'm joined by the Metallica of...
What?
Yeah.
What?
I was going to do Guns N' Roses, but you hate Guns N' Roses. It's
Slash.
Nicholas Ruprecht.
Slash is terrible. Slash is terrible.
You had other choice words for Slash a few minutes ago. The One Direction of the Whitecaps media scene, it's Peter Hicken.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Hey.
If you're feeling bad, then I've achieved what I managed to achieve. And for Gideon Hill, it's a Green Day.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, good band, Green Day.
I never listened to
And
it yet.
now we're going to go through our top 20 songs each. So I'm just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Opening question this week, guys. Lionel Messi is breaking through on goal. You have to pick a MLS player to bring him down or to tackle him or deal with him whichever way you want. Gideon, how would you combat this
I
situation?
would go with Kendall Wasson because a 2-footed tackle from behind resulting in a red card will certainly stop the world's best.
Stop most human beings. I think. Yeah, unless you're
Exactly.
Iron Man, I don't think you
that's
could
true.
take. Okay, Peter.
I don't really want to see him stop, so I'm just going to send Chad Marshall in there and watch his ankles get broken.
Good answer. Nick.
Yeah, I went with Godoy.
Okay.
He can talk to him about Argentina.
So you went for the assimilation option. I went for Michael Bradley in the hope that the trigonometry of the sun's reflection would blind Lionel Messi. Yeah, kind of like those lasers they have in in Latino countries. That the laser pointers.
Laser
yeah.
pointer.
Yeah, I personally think my approach is the best, but
Laser pointer.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's talk about the Whitecaps. This Friday, another Friday game. I think the second of the season is against Colorado. One of the few teams that, on paper, the Whitecaps should be beating. Right, 2 points so far in the season. Gideon, not going well.
No, and it's to be expected after last year. They didn't make a whole lot of difference in the defensive side of things, but I think their biggest strength is Kei Kamara. So that could be working in the Whitecaps' favor because they know how to play against him.
Absolutely. Familiar faces, Peter, on the team. Kamara, Mosqueda, Win to a degree.
Yeah, there's a couple of teams in MLS that we can call the Whitecaps too.
Yeah.
Cincinnati or Colorado. But yeah, Kei Kamara, Mosqueda. Yeah, they've got there'll be plenty of familiar faces watching that game.
And Nick, they're playing like the Whitecaps too.
Yeah, bad.
Yeah.
I think their coach just told them that they were terrible.
I mean, fair enough. They've lost all of their last 6 games. They are bottom of any metric, I guess, standings-wise. They only have 2 points from 9 games. It's not going well. By the way, if anyone hears any car noises, this is the urban edition of the AFTN podcast. We're recording in a different location. Probably the closest a MLS podcast has ever been recorded to a bus stop. Mm-hmm. Probably 5 meters from here. Somehow we're still indoors. Anyway, back to Colorado. Yeah, as we mentioned, Kei Kamara is there. He's actually 5 goals on a struggling team, which is great. Do we think it's kind of the known quantity that it's more the long balls that he's latching onto, defenders' mistakes, that kind of a thing?
Well, I think it's more that he's good at winning crosses and those long balls like you're talking about. And they don't really have too much in the way of creativity.
No.
But, I mean, Kellen Acosta is decent.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't think you can really point to anybody on Colorado team as someone who is a wizard at making things happen.
Yeah, Peter, it seems like it's a bad team with sprinkles of good players.
Yeah, they have a lot of decent players, but I mean that's a recurring issue throughout MLS is the fact that there's not quality in every position. So when you look at the teams that are on the lower end of the table, they really don't have not only difference makers, but they don't have quality across the park. And that for Colorado particularly, like their fullbacks are both not very good, and they don't really much in the midfield. And
yeah. It's looking dire. Like it's actually optimistic from a Whitecaps point of view that there's a team struggling so much. Gideon, a few of those players that I guess we could like talk about and watch. Like Kamara is obviously one. He's a known quantity. The defender, like Henry, will have played against him last season and played in practice. I mean, and we'll kind of know what he's all about. But some other league players that have been around the league for a while. Fail Harbour has 2 goals. Rosenberry is probably one of the few names that could make any other MLS team's defense.
Yeah, and I think Fail Harbour was a good pickup for Colorado with the experience he had last year with the expansion LAFC team. But like we were talking about earlier, Joe, Rosenberry is probably their best defender at this point. They didn't make a whole lot of defensive signings in the offseason that they probably needed to, so I think he's been their standout this year. And he also, defensive side of things, but he's very good in the offensive side of the ball as well.
And Nick, we seem to come back every time we play Colorado and be like, oh, they still have those defenders. Those defenders are still starting, right?
Schuberg, Wilson, Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wynn is the other guy.
And some of them are injured, I think. Although I don't know if that really matters that much.
Well, they did start a 16-year-old at right back against Atlanta. Anderson, he's an academy product. I watched parts of that game and he looked alright. He committed a few inexperienced fouls, but I guess you could put a positive spin that their academy is producing players. Yeah.
Them and Philadelphia are really good at doing that. One of the better teams in the league, but
yeah,
I'm actually surprised that isn't what they've, because like the narrative at least is that Colorado is super cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they were one of the last teams to get a designated player, right?
Yeah. So why haven't they gone more towards their own internal youth, or are their own internal youth just not that good?
That's true. That's a fair question. I mean, like a lot of this, they are a smaller market in terms of not like the city of Denver, but like in terms of their fan base and their attendance. Like they are one of the smaller markets. So yeah, it's a fair question to make about why they're not kind of going towards the RSL, the New York Red Bull style, kind of use the academy. Is it cheaper?
Is their stadium still called Dick's Sporting Good Park?
Yeah.
Best stadium name in the league.
100%. Yeah.
Could have been Rick's or something. They just had to go for Dick's. Anyway, 4 formations so far, which is a symptom of a team that doesn't have stuff working. Right? They've tried various like 4-4-2, 4-1-3, 1-2 or something, and then last game was a 5-4-1. The only constants in there are that Tim Howard starts and is terrible, and that Kei Kamara is the focal point up front. I'm happy for Kamara. He's found a landing spot. He was asking probably a bit too much to come back to the Whitecaps from a financial point of view or from a philosophy point of view, I guess. But Gideon, a player like him is always going to have a home in this league, right?
Yeah, and I mean, MLS is a league that likes to keep around players that maybe are on the older side but can still score goals. And I mean, quality signing for Colorado, a team that has struggled to score goals in the past, and picking up Rubio as well, who we didn't mention, playing on the wing, which Peter Vermees, I guess, didn't want to try. He just wanted to trade him. So I think it's a good move by Hudson. Again, forward-wise, but defensively, they just don't seem up to par this year.
Yeah, we talked about the back line a little bit. Wynn, Smith, Rosenberry, Howard, definitely starting in goal. Definitely can be got at from a quality point of view. If Schubert starts too, he's a good defender. Actually, I saw a really interesting stat today on Twitter that he is one of 3 players in the league that hasn't had someone dribble around him.
Really?
But when you think about him, he's
really
tall and lanky. He's okay on the ball. He's a solid.
Just good positioning.
Yeah, good. He's experienced for sure.
A fun fact about Schubert, I remember. I forget when I saw this, but he played for the Thunder Bay Chill back in before Colorado.
There's so many USL names that are just amazing. The Tampa Bay Rowdies and so good. We should just talk about USL names for the rest for the rest of the podcast.
Next ferry segment.
Next ferry. Yeah, this week's Do You Know Who I Am is we're going to cut in our ferry recordings, and you can actually tell the moment that our blood sugar started to go up after we had some food, based on people's general grumpiness. Moving away from their depressing back line, Acosta, which was one of the most bizarre trades in league history, I think.
It has worked out. I mean, Badgie's been playing for Dallas in a different role. He's playing wide.
But from Acosta's point of view, he should have been moving east to Europe, not west to Colorado, right? Price is the other one. I like Jack Price. He always has a red card in him. In fact, he was suspended last game. I'm not sure if his suspension is up, because it depends on the nature of his red card, I guess. But I like him in the midfield. Just lots of energy. Those two guys are probably going to be the central midfield presence. Peter, what do you think they kind of bring to a game?
Yeah, I like Jack Price. I've actually watched him for a long time because he played for my team in Europe, Wolverhampton Wanderers. But he's a solid player, and I thought when he joined MLS, he'd kind of be up to his level of par, because once they were getting out of the championship, it was kind of a bit too much.
He's not a Premier League quality player.
No, he's not a Premier League quality player. But he's kind of a bit of a pit bull, workhorse kind of player in the midfield. And Acosta, he used to play a bit of a defensive role, but then he's played kind of more of an attacking, creative role. So I mean, he brings a little bit of box to box. Yeah, so it's the player to watch out for.
Gideon, I think Acosta's best role is as that kind of, not 10 maybe quite as much, but like the guy who shuttles up and down and gets involved in the attack and the defense.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a role he didn't really play in Dallas because they had Diaz before he left for Middle Asia or whatever it was. So I mean, it's good for him to kind of develop a new role and have that flexibility to be able to play like a 10 connecting role as well as a defensive midfield role. And I mean, it's helped out Colorado. He and Kamara have linked up pretty well this year. But again, like on a team that hasn't looked great, he's looked, subpar. And I think his greatest strength is defending, but he also can pick a pass, unlike others on that team.
Nicholson and Rubio are probably going to be the wider players, maybe with Mosqueda coming in at some point later on.
Yeah, I mean, like their main purpose is to serve in crosses for Kei Kamara, right? Like,
and to do that, they don't need to get very far forward. Yeah,
that's true, right? Like, and I mean, I think that more speaks to Kei Kamara's quality than necessarily the winger's quality, but they're going to be key in. That might be part of the Whitecaps, making sure that the crosses don't get sent in.
Yeah. Right. The fullbacks will have to push up and make sure that but like this looks like a team that can be, bullied into submission.
Yes.
They just don't have the spine.
But I do feel that the Whitecaps occasionally get bitten by their ex-players.
Yeah. Very Whitecaps thing to happen, for sure.
Colorado's such a weird team because if you actually think about like all the players like Rubio, Kamara, Nicholson, like they're all players that are like that were good for our MLS club, and they kind of got plucked. And it's like it's everything. They've all been plucked trying to make this cohesive
that's
puzzle.
a common trace in a lot of bad MLS teams. It's only since we started doing the preview show for a year and a bit now that I've noticed that like teams that look okay on paper, but the structure around them, or maybe it's the coaching, maybe it's the club.
But I think one example of that is
the Whitecaps are an example of that right now.
What's his name in Columbus? The striker, Zardes. Yeah, like he in LA was total garbage.
He was okay for a bit. He was playing right back.
He was
at the end of his time in LA.
He played back for them.
Yeah, he did.
One game. And
I always kind of thought of him as like Eric Hurtado of LA Galaxy. Like he kind of had.
But he had that hot spell where he got all that notoriety, and then that kind of boosted his trade value, and it deteriorated from there, and eventually he got traded. But the next point is in Columbus.
In Columbus, he's done fairly reasonably well because the structure around him is well defined, and they kind of knew, and they know exactly what they want.
They're a team with an identity, right?
Exactly. And
I don't know much about this season with Caleb Porter, but
it's still kind and like
there's continuity.
There's continuity there, but with Berhalter, it was very like, this is how we play, this is what we do, you know. And I think if you look at MLS, a lot of teams that are successful have that identity. Yeah. Like if I think about
Red Bulls,
you know, like that
Dallas,
City,
high pressing, Kansas City, Peter Vermees, like he has this thing, and they live and die by it. admittedly.
Yeah.
All of them do.
Yeah.
Live and die by the identity, not the sport.
By the,
Yeah.
But they live and die by the identity.
That's
right?
kind of encouraging to listen to from a Whitecaps perspective because DeSantis is trying to implement this idea.
Yeah, like in a long-term thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It is good.
It's a positive thing if you're a Whitecaps fan, and as a Whitecaps fan, looking at like the dire state of things right now, that was the selling point going into this season, is that we're trying to move towards that as opposed to the grab a bunch of things and hope it kind of fits together.
Which we've really never had an identity, so I think it's good. It's exciting for Whitecaps fans to look forward to.
I think maybe I'm being slightly contrarian here, but the start of Carl Robinson's era, there was an identity, but because of the personnel, it was not sustainable.
I think when Morales was here, it was an identity. And once he kind of left, it was kind of like a rotating.
Yeah, the identity lived and died with Pedro Morales' commitment to the identity.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a separate topic. Speaking of like infrastructure around the team, would anyone be surprised if after this game, if it doesn't go well, that we saw the door slam behind Anthony Hudson as he took a flight back to New Zealand?
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
He was my pick for someone to get fired first this season. I mean, he's just like, he's one of those coaches where like you looked at it as a hire when it first got hired, and you're like, if it kind of puzzled you and it didn't really make any sense, like there's so many things in MLS where I look at it as a fan and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But front offices continue to like it's like Frank DeBoer.
I thought
it's
like Frank DeBoer.
like,
let's beat him down now.
Every bad example.
Frank DeBoer.
I thought it didn't make sense from Anthony Hudson's point of view because he was the national team manager of New Zealand.
Yeah.
But maybe he wants to go overseas.
But no, why would he go? He could go somewhere better.
Yeah.
Do you think he could?
I think he could.
He's a U.S. citizen. So
okay,
that's true.
So that's the connection.
But like,
with the
if you
United
think
States.
like New Zealand were in a good moment in that time too, they were they had failed to qualify for the World Cup on playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was that time Marinovic went away and they lost to Peru in the playoffs. Like I think that's when it was at least. But like his stock was high, right? Like Colorado has tarnished his reputation, not boosted it in any way.
Although
on-field reasons too,
yes.
but yeah.
I mean, if you look at MLS, I would argue that any coach that goes to Colorado and does like mediocrely well, I would be like, wow, you're probably.
I think Oscar Pereira was the best thing that ever happened.
Yes, 100%.
Oh, God, yeah, big time. 2 points in 9 games, as we've mentioned before. Season is a write-off.
I've written down, asked me that question at the end of May. I think with the way the West is right now, there is a top 4 team that are locked in, but I think the bottom ones can shuffle. I think the Whitecaps and Colorado may be able to make a push, but again, it's still a little too early. Still 20 games left in there.
Yeah, and I think in MLS can be very streaky for those bottom teams. So if they somehow cobble together some wins, and
with so many playoff spots now too.
With so many playoff spots, like I could definitely see magic happening.
I think I'm maybe a bit more pessimistic, and I don't see a way for Colorado to make the playoffs.
Yeah, why is Nick the optimistic one in this conversation?
I mean, both of those.
We're in my place.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, as Nick and Gideon said, that it's totally true in MLS, and I think that you can totally gain form suddenly. I just don't see Colorado as a team particularly being able to do that.
Do you think Tim Howard needs to move on for the team to have?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because we have their former back.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah,
Zach McMath, getting rid of him for Colorado point of view, terrible decision. He's a quality MLS keeper. He's maybe
they might have a youth keeper or something. I'm not sure who their backup keeper is,
but still, I
don't understand why Tim Howard keeps starting. I know he's making and I know that we talked about like the Whitecaps like salary on the bench, but Tim Howard is like every single goal. It's like the goal goes in, he starts yelling at his defenders. Like, what do you want, man? Like no shots on target. And
I don't know who wrote this on the running order, but Colorado State reflective. That's very pensive thought.
That was me. I mean, I was thinking particularly with Colorado, Colorado's in a big market. Like Denver is a big sports market. They're a sports town, and if you look at MLS, like this is a side point of like the preview, but Colorado is like a very big market, and it's kind of a larger MLS issue. The fact that you can point to Atlanta and Seattle and Portland and all these really good markets and expansion markets that are doing really well. But if you look at like the big U.S. sports markets, like Colorado, New York, L.A., the MLS is the attendance isn't good enough. I just looked at the Colorado Rapids and how they're doing, compared to the rest of
Yeah, there needs to be a rethink there. I don't know if it's a rebrand or something, but like owners can't be happy with the state of affairs. Now that we've exhausted our knowledge of Colorado, because I literally don't know anything else about the team, it's time for this week's special edition, Ferry Edition, or Ferry Terminal
Vancouver
Edition.
Island edition?
Yeah, Van Isle.
Van Isle. I like. To be fair, I like the Van.
Yeah.
For the Isle.
It's
Van
our
Isle
bespoke.
for the Isle. That was great.
It's our bespoke version of Do You Know Who I Am? Hello AFTN listeners, we're here for a special edition of Do You Know Who I Am? I'm here with three very tired gentlemen. It is the wonderful Gideon Hill, the fantastic Nicholas Ruprecht, and the okay Thomas Brown.
How you treat your guests.
Yes, special guest from Canucks Abroad, Thomas Brown. It's been a long day, we're all kind of sick of each other. Gideon has really just been...
I wouldn't go that far, but we're getting there.
Gideon has actually burned all bridges, in terms of our relationship between the friend dynamic.
It's gone
between
pretty
us.
far. I feel like we need to go visit a construction site pretty soon.
I'm no longer driving him home.
Yeah.
Tsawwassen to Surrey will be an interesting trip for you. We're going to bring back a classic, Do You Know Who I Am? The people have voted. I think it was 92% in favor of us recording.
I don't know who that 8% was, but they really hurt my feelings.
I know.
I love this game.
It was bad for my ego when that happened. But we'll start off with one while we're here waiting for the ferry. And who knows? Maybe this will be the only one. Maybe we'll do a couple more. There'll be more AFTN people on the ferry, so it might just be... Maybe we'll finally do that calendar shoot that Michael McCall's always talking about.
That's disturbing.
We'll have Zach and his great beard just standing there.
Yeah. Okay, let's get this Do You Know Who I Am started. So, in case, Thomas, you've obviously heard of the game before because you listen to every episode that we do, for sure.
That is no doubt correct.
Yeah. But just in case you need a refresher on the rules, I'm just going to list off some clues of a player. It's not going to be CPL related, that's your first clue. But if you think you know who it is, you have to say stop, or else there could be overlapping and then we'd have to figure out who said it first, okay? Alright, so the first clue is... I am a 5'10" midfielder who has played in the MLS. I started my career at Brescia. I have played for Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan.
Stop, Andrea Pirlo?
It is Andrea Pirlo. You know, I thought with Peter not here, Nick could actually win one of these.
But I had a chance.
No?
I was like...
I tried, usually if it's 3 clues and you guys get it, I feel kind of bad. 4 clues is where I feel like I've had a win.
Yeah.
Who was most like Andrea Pirlo today? I think Noah Verhoeven had a great game.
Yeah.
Defensive position.
Comedy. Yeah. No doubt.
Thoughts on the game? Let's get a quick recap over here.
Good quality. A little bit of a down, a droll, but picked up and good.
The red card kind of left him in a lurch as well.
The atmosphere at West Hills is really good. I think suggest everyone in the Lower Mainland to get out to game if you can this year.
Nick, happy with the fan experience?
Yeah, fans were singing. The supporters were singing the entire 90 minutes. Everybody was
even 20 minutes before they were
20 minutes before, and they were singing afterwards as well.
Yes. We didn't stay for the concert, but it must have been nice. The dancers.
Yeah.
The dancers
there was some interesting dancing
going on. They had
very Van Isle.
They also had what else? They had a rock band come on afterwards. Yeah.
Thomas, who is your most impressive player out there?
I was really impressed with the whole backline for Pacific, mostly the veteran defender from Germany, Starosik, obviously scored the goal.
Which Nick predicted, by the way, amazingly.
He didn't predict the right scoreline, but I did.
He predicted a Halifax win, and
a Starosik first goal, which was completely not the game.
Which I'm sure was the bookie's favorite outcome.
Yeah, and to be fair, the service from Verhoeven on the goal was sublime.
We were in the perfect spot to admire that corner. I was sitting actually on the goal line, so it was perfect to watch corners from.
I think as that corner was taken and we could see the service, each of us said that's in right away, and it was
I also said that for one of the Halifax corners, though.
That one didn't go so well.
It's okay.
Actually, in fact, every time there was a shot, I would say that's it, just in case it actually did work out.
Eventually, you're going to be. You make a million predictions. Eventually, you're going to be correct.
Very much the Nicholas Ruprecht school of making predictions. Yeah. All right. Well, that was the first Do You Know Who I Am? Maybe we'll do another one on the boat.
See how we're feeling.
Yeah. We just have to make sure we don't time it with the huge air horn, which we realized how loud it was on the way over here.
What?
Yeah.
Or time it with the air horn.
Yeah. Impossible to tell who said the answer first. Yeah. All right. We will tune back in soon. We are back for part 2 of the On the Ferry AFTN Do You Know Who I Am? This time it's a true AFTN derby. There's no Thomas. He is in line for poutine.
That's good. I think it's better that way.
It's
more
probably,
rivalry, you know?
Yeah. Nick, the passion isn't the same, right? If it's
If you lose all the time,
yeah, it's true. Is it safe to say Is it safe to say you've made a habit of losing?
It's safe to say Gideon's gotten into my head.
Oh, Gideon, mind games.
He's much taller than me, so it's very difficult to do if you can paint the picture here, but I'm ready for this one.
It's like how elephants are afraid of ants. It's kind of a similar dynamic.
That's definitely rings true to me. For sure.
All right, let's get this ball rolling. We can get a couple of these out before we hit the mainland. I was going to say this week's Do You Know Who I Am, but we're doing a bunch in the matter of a few hours. It's a Premier League player. Okay, so as before, say stop when you know the answer. I am an Irish player who has 51 caps for the Republic of Ireland. I am 30 years old.
Stop. Shane Long?
It is not Shane Long. No.
Current Premier League player?
Current Premier League player.
Okay.
And in fact, current Premier League captain. Okay. I moved from an Irish league team straight to my current Premier League team.
Harry Arter?
You didn't say stop? And no,
stop.
It's not Harry Arter. If that is also incorrect. Okay. So let's recap. I'm a right back Irish player.
Oh, you didn't say right back.
Well, that's a new clue then.
Okay.
I'm a right back Irish player who currently plays for a Premier League team.
Stop. Seamus Coleman.
It is Seamus Coleman. You know, Nick, I'm putting a passion here. You know who Seamus Coleman is, right?
I've just given up. That's all.
You know, Nick, you're a football manager aficionado. Seamus Coleman is like the ultimate football manager signing.
I don't play football manager in the Premier League. Okay, I play in like Tier 2 Romania.
Well, let's take this chance to talk about your favorite football manager saves. I remember you played in the Australian League was it Melbourne? I think it was Wellington Phoenix. Yeah. And you tried to make a team of Australian players, and it all went very well.
New Zealand.
Oh, sorry.
New Zealand.
That's my bad there. Yeah. We have completely different styles of football manager. Like I work my way from the bottom and I end up in the Premier League. You just stay with the small.
Stay in the bottom.
I hope. There's a Canadian Premier League mod actually for the new football manager.
I remember there was one like a while back.
But this one will actually have the real players and the real rules. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, that was part 2 of our Do You Know Who I Am? Probably get another 1 or 2 out. Gideon's falling asleep, so this is the one way we've been able to keep him awake. All right. We'll be back soon. And there it is. If I recall correctly, Gideon, you won every Do You Know Who?
If you have to bring it up, Joe. I would say for 3.
I don't think we're putting all of them in there, but you did
The
have a
Welsh
hat trick.
one was difficult, so it was more 3 for 4, but I did get 3. So
Yeah. It was fun. Day trip to the island.
I'm going to do it again. Peter, you're coming next time.
Peter was there.
I was there.
Well, with us.
With the gang.
Yeah,
a
that's true.
collective, nothing against Thomas Brown. Thomas is great. But
The cabin fever was amazing by the end of the day. Yeah. It was it was a lot more exhausting than I thought it would be.
And just because of the cancellations.
Yeah, the ferry cancellations were not fun.
The worst day.
Peter, you almost got stuck on the island.
I was silly enough to make reservations, so I
Peter,
almost didn't get back entirely.
We did make a reservation, and then that ferry got cancelled.
Ooh.
So that's why we ended up taking public transportation to the game.
And cabs.
And cabs. Oh yeah, and psycho cab drivers.
Yes.
I think we should tell the story of how we saved Canadian
Joe,
soccer.
you're the best at doing it, so go ahead.
So set the scene. It's after the game. We hung around a little bit to take in the atmosphere.
The deep sea gypsies.
The deep sea gypsies. And I went to Zach and I, AFTN guy Zach, we went to chat with some players. Everyone was in a great mood. We exited the stadium. We had a game plan to get to the ferry terminal nice and early. We were standing outside the stadium. I called a couple of cab companies. They were like, "Oh, the wait's a long time, so see if there's anything close by." And then I see this we saw John Herdman like waiting for a taxi outside the stadium, and he had obviously called ahead and reserved something. But the taxi came, and then someone pulled John Herdman aside. I guess he had to stay for something, so they waved the taxi away. And then I saw my eyes light up, and I went over and I flagged down the taxi, and the four of us jump in. So it was me, Nick, Gideon, and Thomas Brown from Canucks Abroad. Around 6 seconds after getting into the cab, we realized something was amiss. Something was wrong. This guy wasn't quite right. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to do that. But he had a fun name. He had a fun alias as well as a name. He called himself Johnny Cash.
The moment he swore in Italian and then said he was French
his first swear was maybe 15 seconds into the car ride, and Nick was in the front seat, and I don't know how you kept your cool the whole time. Stories about the Navy, stories about seeing old hockey players,
Guy Lafleur,
stories about when being in Southeast Asia,
swerving into the lanes,
swerving, on his phone during the ride. So we thought once we got out of there alive, and we were reflective of our lives, and grateful just to still be breathing the fresh island air. We realized if John Herdman got into that cab,
he could have died.
He would have died. No more. Alphonso Davies Golden Era of Canada Soccer. There
could have been a terrible taxi accident, and he just swerves into the other lane. And
personally, I have delusions of grandeur, but I think a stadium should be named after us, just for our commitment to the cause.
Yeah, true.
Exactly. No, it was a fun experience. Let's actually talk about the game itself. Mm-hmm. The Sunday show did go over the match details, and there's some great interviews on that show if you haven't listened to it yet from both coaches. They seem genuinely happy with even the away coach. He was like, "Yeah, I hope when we get back to Halifax that that's the atmosphere we have," because it was a great. Mm-hmm. Nick, what was your thoughts on the day in general?
I thought in general it was very well done. It felt. I don't know if every match will feel like this, but it felt like it. It really felt like it's one of those events. It's like you can go there, you can hang out before. There's things to do. There's food to get. And then, the game was fantastic. The product on the pitch was really good. The people in the stands were fantastic. Mm-hmm.
And Peter, you were in the supporters zone.
I was in the supporters section, and that was that was a good time. It was quite rowdy. Yeah, the Lakeside boys have some really good chants.
The bagpipes were amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic.
I'll go back for the bagpipes.
Yeah, man.
No, they did a really good job overall. The entire thing, Nick, you said it's a whole experience. You can go before, and they have a beer garden area, and then you can stay after, and then there's events there, and the players come. You're very close to the pitch as well. You're really close.
Yeah. Did you get the community vibe, Gideon, from the?
Yeah, we're talking about. It's an event. It's also feels. I've said this before, but it feels organic.
That was the word that we settled on the ride home.
You walk in, and there's so many things to do. You know most of the people. The product on the field may not be, always, exciting, but it's about this thing actually happening, being there and experiencing this kind of soccer, and I think it's just, it's exciting, and I'm for sure be back as well as you guys.
Yeah, it was great. So now it's time to talk about the Whitecaps, unfortunately. Or fortunately? I don't know. Gideon, can Daniil Henry solidify his spot as the top scorer on the team?
I think he can. I was thinking about this today. I don't know if we've ever had, besides Kendall Watson, such an imposing center-back pairing, off set piece. Because Godoy scored off the set piece the first game of the season. Henry did as well. Then that goal on Saturday was well taken. Yeah. Got above his defender. So I think it's good that we're having, quote-unquote, to use hockey, secondary scoring. But
in just answering with A or B, would you pick A, Godoy and Henry, or B, Waston and Parker?
No, don't do this.
Nick?
To be I don't think I have seen enough of Godoy and Henry
That's
to
a
make that
cop-out.
call. To make that
Okay.
like, what have I seen? Like a couple months,
No,
and
you're
then
right.
like we had how many years?
Yeah, if you're forcing my hand, I'm gonna pick Parker and Watson because I
Gideon?
agree with Nick. I haven't
Watson
seen
and
enough.
Parker. As of right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they could change.
I saw that discussion on Twitter, and there was some different answers to that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you guys. Like on the ball so far, like ball playing
That's true.
wise, it's definitely Watson and Parker.
Yeah, Henry and Godoy sometimes scare me with.
Formation. We learned today that Reyna is out. Does that affect our formation in any way?
I don't think so.
I think it's the 4-3-3.
Yeah, 4-3-3. Peter?
I am, and I know I vowed to never
Oh no!
talk
No,
about.
don't do this. Don't do it.
Okay, here my rationale for this is that the Whitecaps don't have at the moment. This is like prior to the summer transfer window. We don't have very good wingers. That's my opinion.
You don't like Venuto?
I like Venuto and
He's the
Vancouver,
only good
but
winger.
they're both like very. They're both very direct. Like they're not pragmatic. And
I don't think Vancouver's direct enough. I think Venuto's the direct one, but he has.
Well, either way, there's not enough creativity in the wings. I don't value the wing positions very much.
What if Reyna's out there? Does that change your opinion?
I don't like Reyna out wide.
Yeah,
either.
Reyna essentially.
I like Reyna
I see your point.
essentially.
You can play the wingers.
Like our best
in a
players are in
two-
the middle.
Yeah.
But in
So
a
you
two
just put
striker
the wing
system,
backs.
you can play one of the wingers up top,
Yeah, you can play Reyna up top with my
or Bangura up top, or
Yeah.
Venuto up top.
You could do all
You
those
could,
things.
but I don't think they
like
should.
personally, I would not be opposed to a 3-5-2 switch with Kamiri, and when Kamiri's healthy,
Yeah.
with Godoy and Henry
You don't like Cornelius enough?
or Cornelius.
He didn't look too bad in the Houston game when he was playing left back. I mean, besides giving away a penalty, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we can assume a 4-3-3.
I think you can assume that.
Yeah. Which area of the field should the team's focus be on?
I think scoring. This is if we're to score. We haven't scored more than 2 goals this
The
season.
midfield isn't totally sorted out, but scoring is probably...
Yeah, I think this is a game we should be able to bag a few goals.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
A couple goals.
Colorado's
More
been
than
in a
2.
few really high. Like the Orlando game was 4-3,
And they lost
Yeah.
4-1 to Chicago as well. So
Yeah, they've
scored
been
on.
in high scoring games and they've been scored on a lot.
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's go through the team a little bit then. In goal, Kripo.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a storyline to put McMath.
It's
in there
true. Yeah, good
he's-
point.
Because he got traded from there.
I mean, was he there long enough to have him, to
Impact
honor
really,
him?
yeah.
Because I think
I'm sure he wants to insult Tim Howard at some point in the evening.
Yeah, that's true.
the goalkeeping coach of the
Maybe.
Whitecaps, the name doesn't get off the top of my head, but he said that Crépeau is now better than Tim Mealy was at Crépeau's age. So that tells you how
Huh.
confident Crépeau is. And
But
I think that's
he still has to develop.
yeah. But I'm just saying.
I think it should be Crépeau.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's playing well. I don't think the goal, the giveaway on Saturday was not his fault.
Yeah.
No.
I take nothing away from the finish as well.
Let's talk about the back line a little bit. Centre backs, probably Godoy and Henry.
Yep.
Yep.
Left back would be Adnan.
Yep.
I love what he brings to the team.
Yeah, but do
White-
you think
white
he's going to
target
have
man.
because he had that penalty kick mistake?
Yeah, some
And
fans
then
are
this.
kind of.
I think he has to take the next
But-
penalty.
You think
Just-
so?
but
His service on the goal on Saturday was like sublime. Like he's got a good left foot. I think.
But-
you have
but
to,
is-
just
but
don't
this is-
try and Panenka the damn
Yeah.
penalty this time.
Why do you think he did that though? Because Eber was there. You have to do something. Like I don't.
You know,
think-
I think I brought this up at the time. Someone should look at the concentration of Panenkas, because when a player sees one before his game, it puts the idea into his head. Right?
And the goalie's
my
head
theory
as
is
well.
that you see like these clusters of Panenkas in top leagues because of the idea getting perpetuated through
We'll have to look at
social
the
media and
data.
things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll need someone to crunch that data. Nowinski's having a bit of a weird season. This is the kind of concerning patch that indicates that the player isn't developing properly. He has played better than this as a Whitecap.
Yeah, but I think one of the. I was again thinking about this today. I don't know why, but he has been. Sutter is, I think, the most pressure he's had at right back in the past couple of years because Williams and Franklin were there for cover. I don't think they were pressuring from a playing well point of view. I think Sutter's playing well, but I think Nerwinski's under a lot of pressure, not only from Sutter but from the other team. Like a couple of times, including Seattle, Schmetzer said they're pinpointing his side numerous times in that game through Morris and weren't able to find success. So there's games where teams are running at him and he's not, dealing with it well, but there's other games where he's played well and stood off other teams. So I think you're right, it might be a purple patch right now, but I think he'll get through it because he's shown qualities before.
Yeah, I agree with Gideon on that. I think that, just particularly because this is, no matter how, there's a number of storylines, there's the way the Whitecaps make the playoffs, but if you look at it in terms of a rebuilding year, Nowinski has been a really good player, and he's also still young. He's a kind of valuable MLS asset that you should try and make better. And I think that he should start on those grounds.
He's like a Rosen.
He hasn't been awful. Like, he's made a couple.
Yeah.
He's had good games. He's had bad games.
Bad on the
but
ball.
I think the 2 penalties given away at the start of the year really threw him off. Honestly.
Well, one shouldn't have been a penalty.
Well,
the other one was, but yeah. Nick, he starts, you think? Nowinski?
Yeah, I totally think he starts. Like, especially in a game against a team where he could use this to gain confidence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you talking about the Colorado Wingers, I would have confidence putting Nowinski against those wingers.
And the left back, I think it's Wynn is the left back right now. So
Yeah, I think he slots over.
It'd be Wynn and Rubio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good game if you want to use it as a confidence builder. The 3-man midfield, who are our 3 best midfielders? You have to have Arise in there.
Yeah.
You have to have Ingbaum in there.
Center mid.
The center 3, the inverted diamond.
Tyburn and Arise right
I like
that
Tyburn.
is the most balanced.
I think for this game, I think Rose might come in. Like he's back in training.
The other thing is the 2 left foots of Tyburn and Arise can be...
Yeah. Arise is so left-footed.
Yeah. What's to be done about Felipe? Like, what?
Bring him on as an attacking piece if you need it. Like,
do you think that
is Felipe someone that you want to be investing in to get, like, try to get him back to the form that you saw in Montreal?
Is he happy on the bench?
New York?
That's the question. Like, I don't think he's found his form from New York since being here.
I think his role in the team is important in terms of dressing room dynamics.
Yeah. The way
he's
he
a leader
to the media, he's very positive.
Absolutely.
And he's very harsh on his teammates, which is like the
team needs that for sure. And I think you keep him around.
And the fans occasionally.
Yeah.
And the fans, yeah. Well, they're actually Zlatan fans, not Whitecaps.
That was great. I love that.
Oh yeah, you need someone to say that. We're up against a slow back line, so do we just pack the top with pace? What do you guys think?
I think so.
I think, again, looking at this, this can, it seems like he wants to play more possession. You could use this as an opportunity.
Yeah, it could be. So who do you think? The wide positions, who do we got?
So I would say definitely Venuto needs to be starting. I don't think...
Yeah, he's in good form. I agree.
He's in good form, and he is driving it forward. Doing.
I think the other side should be Bangura. He's been on the bench for a few games. Anyone have any objections?
Together either.
PC has been starting, but I just don't think he has enough quality.
He's not direct enough.
Yeah.
Again, he cuts inside a lot, trying to get on the right foot, even though he's left foot predominantly.
And he's not very physical either. He
kind of
fouls a lot, but he's not physical.
He's a good player to stick to the game plan. So particularly against LAFC, that kind of made a bit of sense to me. But I think this is a good game for Venuto and Bangura. If that pair hasn't played together yet, it's a good game to try it because they're not. Yeah. They're going to likely have a lot of opportunity.
He's a good player to bring off the bench to be more defensive if Bangura and Venuto are able to get knock on wood some goals.
Up front is a big question mark. Ardays or Montero? I think this is a game that Montero comes back in.
Again, Ardays is snake bitten, there's no doubt about it, but their only way to break that is to get a goal, and how much confidence that'll give a player. Again, Montero is good scoring record against Colorado, but if you're going to bring Ardays on a game where you're tied and you want to get a goal and not Montero, didn't appear at all inside it, I think Ardays should get the start, but it's able up to MDS.
Yeah, I think Ardays has more pace, which would be more of a problem for Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Is it more pace or physicality?
Movement. Yeah,
I think he's faster and just as strong as Montero.
Yeah. This is probably Montero's best. One of the things with Montero that I've really noticed compared to when he was back here in 2017 is he's a lot slower than he was.
Yeah, I think he could be tired though.
I mean, it's true. You can't discount the fact that he's played an entire season for a lot of it as a starter for Sporting Lisbon. But I think he has been generally quite slow, and since Colorado's backline is slow, this is probably the best environment you could put him in, but at the same time you have to put whatever's best. You think Ardays would be a bigger threat.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go to some Twitter questions. Thanks everyone who reached out with these questions. From Smapty Jones. Should the Caps sign a left back and keep Adnan if he wanted to stay and move him up to the pitch onto left wing? I think it would only work in a 4-2-3-1 that you could do that, not in a 4-3-3.
I don't see them doing that.
I don't see why you would do that.
You have Levi's, you have PC who can play left back, and Adnan. I think that's enough depth for you to have. And Adnan hasn't done anything wrong at left back to be. I mean, he pushes up a lot.
Yeah, he gets forward enough that he's basically a winger, right?
You'd be perpetuating the problem of that's that's a quick fix idea, I think. But it's like you'd be perpetuating the problem of not trying to sign creativity.
I think you're in the ideal world, Adnan is your starting left back.
Yes.
Yeah.
From JYRKI21, sorry. Is all hope lost?
No. Again,
that's it. Yeah.
There's time.
There's
still time.
If the Whitecaps can get a good streak going together, even recently they've been building some momentum.
Yeah.
Ever since LAFC, I think it's been.
Yeah,
it's been growing.
It's been getting better and better and better, and I think it's just
Michael McCall asks, how do the Caps deal with Reyna being out for at least a month? Do they panic buy before the window closes, or let Montero and Ardays see if they can perform? I think it's the second one. They'll let the two guys deke it out.
Yeah, I don't really see who would be available.
Juan Massa.
I think it would be very un-MDS like and very far straying away from the narrative to panic buy. Like that is the exact opposite of what we're trying to do in terms of like rebuilding and actually creating an identity and sticking to that when how you sign players.
Yeah.
So like panic buying, unless it's a really good opportunity.
He's preached depth throughout his whole tenure so far, and I think buying, like you mentioned, isn't his style, and I think he has the tools to be able to find success. And remember when Reyna was injured in his first season here, after the preseason, he came back and was on fire. So
got injured in Portland.
Yeah, in Portland. So
we've had a couple of questions about Stewie, the starfish. Chris from AFTN asked, is there a better supporter drummer than Stewie? Drummer than Stewie. Was he on the drums? I didn't see that.
I didn't see
it. I don't know if he's able to.
Good dancer. That's one reason.
Very good dancer.
One reason
for a starfish. I guess they're symmetrical.
Yeah,
in some way.
Across 5 axes. Yes. He's a good dancer, which is the reason I can't be a mascot. Because I would just look embarrassing. I think Michael McCall also asked a question. Is the Pacific FC mascot Stewie the Starfish awesome or amazing? Nick?
I'm going to go with amazing. Amazing starfish.
Peter?
I think he's just pretty awesome.
I like awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. 3-1 for awesome. We've had a question from Dan Kame, a personal friend of Nick and myself. Any chance the front office can pull out of their PR nosedive? No. No. He asked for our thoughts. It's a tough situation.
It's
a
tire fire
podcast.
Yeah.
It's not a.
It's not appropriate for the podcast.
Yeah, true.
In terms of the language I'm going to need.
I think there's no one here is satisfied. I'll put it that way. I think I speak for everyone when I say that. But it's we hope for change, and personally, I think what the fan groups are doing I'm on board with that.
The fan groups.
And I think if it needs to get escalated, then that's what needs to happen. So that's my thoughts anyway. It's a very serious matter, and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So, something needs to change. Something really needs to change. Prediction game. I haven't tallied them up from last time, but let's get our predictions in for this week. Let's start with Nick.
Okay, Kei Kamara for a goal.
Wow.
Yeah.
He has scored 5, I guess.
And, the Whitecaps do seem to have a problem playing their former players. They do seem to score. And then I think that Godoy will have an 81% pass accuracy.
Okay.
And then I think Crépeau will get 3 saves.
3 saves. Gideon?
I have Whitecaps holding 45% possession, Ardai's goal, and a Henry yellow card. That's why I wanted
Ardai's goal. Okay, there you go.
I have Henry with 4 clearances, Tommy Smith with a yellow, and Crépeau getting a clean sheet.
Okay, I had Crépeau clean sheet as well. I had Tommy Smith yellow card. Did you say that too? Oh my god! Oh wait, okay. Weird. I'll go Henry yellow card then, just to make things interesting.
Okay, that's fine.
Both teams to score in the second half is my other one.
No goals in the first half.
That my condition is both teams will score in the second half.
You said clean sheet, and then they both score in the second half.
You have to hedge your bets.
He's doing a spread. He's doing a spread. You're not allowed to do that.
I don't have the standings.
Kicked out of the casino.
I don't have the standings in front of me, but I'm far and away on top, so I think I can throw a few away if I want to. Let's get your social media information in. Peter, where can people find you?
At Peter Hickens on Twitter.
And Gideon?
At _ Gideon Hill on Twitter.
Nicholas?
At SpaceAgeRobot56.
And you can find me at Joe DC Van. Thank you very much for listening to episode 339 of the AFTN podcast. Enjoy the game.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.